Hey everybody, thanks for dropping in for this month's newsletter. I'm just going to get right to it. The first thing I want to share with you is there's about 200 single family homes under an acre currently available in Bend. If you remember back through the pandemic, at any given point we had about less than 100. So already here in February, we're holding strong at about 200. Not sure that inventory is really going to pick up this year. All the things we've talked about, the headwinds, might slow inventory from really spiking, and the number of sales still may not be there this year compared to last. A lot of that data we're going to dive into. So let's look at the Beacon report. The very first one, Bend median home price dropped to 700,000 for January. Now, if you look back to the end of 2022 and into the beginning of 23, we sort of had prices down as well from the 2022 summer. And then that cycle repeated into the summer of 23. We really saw prices rise back up, and it looked like the market was taking off. And again, towards the end of this last year and into this year, we've seen prices come down. I'll be curious to see if that cycle continues this year as we move into spring and summer, our more busiest time. All right, next chart we want to take a look at. This is our number of sales. Only had 89 in the month of January. This is very comparable to what we saw in December and January a year ago. Of course, if you look back to the 2022, 2021 days, those numbers were a lot bigger. This is a really interesting fact. So in the United States, we actually had the fewest number of sales that we've seen in 30 years. And the really intriguing thing about that number is there's 80 million more citizens in the United States over that 30 years. All right, next piece is the days on market. The Beacon report's showing 43. When I pull this number in the MLS, it sits at about 55, but not surprised to see this. I think this is going to continue to be the theme. Just takes a little bit longer to sell homes, and sellers need to be a little bit more patient. Buyers are kicking tires, and they're really not in a big sense of urgency. I also want to take a look at the Redmond real quick. We don't pull this up very often, but I think it's good to compare every once in a while. So in January, Redmond had a median home price of 507, sort of the same cycle that they experienced, that Bend did, in that towards the end of 2022 into 23, we saw those numbers come down. They saw them come up in the summer. So again, I'll be curious to see how this repeats and how busy the market ends up being. Okay, so the last piece we'll touch on interest rates. They did not come down in Q1 like a lot of people had predicted. So it'll be curious to see if that's actually going to happen in Q2. The Fed's made it clear it's probably not going to happen in March. So we're sitting at about 6.5% to 7%, sort of oscillates between that. In my opinion, I think rates will probably stay high through most of the year. It really depends on inflation. They keep telling us that. They really want to get to 2%, and we're sitting at just over 3 right now. So, all right, that's all I have for you. Thanks for dropping in.